Are you trying to figure out things in life? Do you have questions about life and the way that you should live your life? A lot of people right now are out there looking at the internet and trying to figure out how to live their life, how to live a better life, and how to be more productive, how to be more happy. The reality is that there's a lot of bad stuff out there on the internet. And I think the challenge for us that we need to realize is that we need to have good counselors. My object lesson for today is this: books. I think it's so important for us to read. And I realize a lot of people aren't used to reading, that we watch a lot of movies and we do a lot of other things, but to actually sit down and read a book can be a challenge. Maybe it won't be actually sitting down with the book, but maybe it will be listening to books online that you can hear to get information and wise counsel. There's a verse in Proverbs that's very good. It says, "Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed." That really is an important concept as we try to navigate through life and try to be enjoying life the way that God meant us to enjoy it. We can get thrown off by the ideas that we see on the internet, the philosophies of men. There are new ideas every day about how marriage is supposed to be and how we can be productive and how we can live at peace and not live in fear. But it's important for us to realize that we need to follow wise counselors. That's why I say my object again is books. It's so important for us to read. When you and I read, what we're doing is we're feeding our minds and our hearts with truth, with reality, not with all the stuff that's out there. Let me just give you a couple examples of books that I've read in the past that have really influenced me and encouraged me. One is Absolute Surrender by Andrew Murray, just a great book, and the idea of that I can't live for myself. As I surrender my life to the Lord, that He can work in me and give me a peace that is incredible as I surrender to Him. Another book that I've read that I read over and over is The Disciplined Life by Richard Shelley Taylor. I think it's still in print. Another great book when I think about disciplining my life, setting my schedule, setting goals and achieving those goals. That's a great book that has really helped me through that process. A book that I read when I first became a Christian was Dr. Martin Lloyd-Jones's book, Spiritual Depression, Its Cause and Cure. I know this one is still in print, and it's a wonderful book that looks at a number of spiritual, emotional issues that we face, that I've faced, and gives really practical insight and understanding in order to grapple through the struggles that we may have that can lead to depression in our lives. I tell you, those books are just a few. I realized early on in my 20s that I needed to be a reader. I wasn't naturally a reader. I had to work toward it. But I worked toward it because I wanted to follow that verse that when there are wise counselors around me, both people that I can talk to and interact with, but also people who have read books that are strong biblically and solid, that I gained their wisdom and insight and have been able to lead a better life and to be more productive. Probably the most important book that I've ever read, it is the most important book, is the Bible. And there is so much insight from a God who is infinite, all-loving, and all-wise to help me to understand the principles of life, how He wants me to live. He's a lot smarter than I am, and I realize that if I just begun to read from this book and gain that wisdom, that I would live a life that works better, and that's from the insight that God gives me. That's been kind of the basis of our ability to help others. Janet and I have done biblical counseling for a number of years, and it's not based on what we figured out or what we have reasoned, but it's based on what God says in His Word, and it's been so encouraging for us to meet with couples and individuals and to help them to learn about what God says and apply it in their life. And it's been so thrilling to see how God uses His Word, gives a couple or individual wisdom, and it changes their life. This is why we did a podcast, Janet and I, Married by Design. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcast. I encourage you to check that out, where we just share not our own wisdom and understanding, but principles from God's Word that we have learned through the years to help people, not just in marriage, but in all aspects of life. I encourage you to check that out, and also to check out my YouTube channel. Again, this is what I'm doing. I'm not sharing my ideas, but I'm sharing from what I've read from God's people and also from what I've read from God's Word, just to encourage people and give a little bit of insight and point them back to the Word that you could read yourself and to gain more insight. So God bless you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Share your comments below. Maybe there's a verse or a principle that you've learned from God's Word that has really impacted your life that you could share and you can encourage others by.